In a scathing new report, members of Congress find that the Navy is not ready for war because sailors are forced to focus on diversity training. They say that combat preparation is an afterthought, just a checklist, but we got to make sure we have that diversity, inclusivity, and equity training for all our members. We saw something recently with the comparison between the Russian Army ad and the U.S. Army ad. In Russia, a guy with a shaved head jumps out of an airplane with a bolt-action rifle, lands in the snow, and he's taking out the enemies while this low voice is like, blah, 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 in Russian. I can't speak Russian. In the U.S. Army ad, it was a young woman talking about pride in her two moms. Okay, I can respect that. By all means, have pride in your family. I'm glad you have loved ones you care about and who care about you. Congratulations on your activism. I don't see what that has to do with defending this nation from foreign threats at a time when we are concerned about war with China. And Japan has stated that the tensions between the U.S. and China over Taiwan are escalating and war is a real possibility. Thucydides' trap, fourth turning, whichever one you want to cite. Taiwan, it's not just about the U.S. defending its allies and defending Southeast Asia. It's about securing chip production. Silicon Valley West, as Steve Bannon called it. We need these chips for cars, computers, components. And if we lose Taiwan to China, they gain control of that massive resource. It also signals to our allies in Southeast Asia we cannot defend them. It is massive. China is encroaching, expanding, insulting. And there's a real fear that war will be inevitable. Of course, in Southeast Asia and in the Pacific, this is going to be a naval battle. That's why this story is so shocking. You see, because of the getting woke, and I guess you can say they're going broke, there was a destruction of a warship, burst into flames. They had to scrap the warship. Two collisions, and the U.S. surrendered a U.S. boat to Iran. This is bad because this has been happening now. This is over a year where this report was being compiled. So this has been going on for some time now. Let me just stress. I was warning about this years ago. And you know what? Many others warned about it before I did. Of course, we saw the rise of getting woke in the early 2010s and even a few years before. Many YouTubers started producing content about this, warning what will happen as the tsunami is heading our way. You see, off in the distance, it's a small wave. But someone points out, hey, a wave that far out, that's a tsunami, bro. The water is pulling back. It's coming. Fortunately, for many of us, there was kind of an early warning system, but we couldn't stop what was to come. Wokeness, the cult of intersectionality, critical theorists was expanding, and it seeped into the highest level of government. And people kept telling me it would never happen. I said, what do you think is going to happen to this country? Years ago, I said this. What do you think will happen to this country when this woke cult ideology makes it to the highest level of government? And people said, the security state is too strong. It will not be corrupted by this. I'm sorry. This is a rot. It is a flame that is burning and destroying. And boy, are the woke happy about it. I mean, Cenk Uygur said, it's so funny to see the panic from Ben Shapiro because they know they're losing. Does the culture war right or those who oppose the establishment and wokeness feel like they're losing? Some do. Some are fairly optimistic. I got to tell you, I'm pessimistic when it comes to what's going to happen to this country. I'm optimistic in terms of what's going to happen to me and those who are watching videos like this, because perhaps the end result is peaceful divorce. We have our own safe space where we can thrive and flourish without interference by the extremists who are the woke. Of course, that means we will lose a large portion of our wealth as the American empire, as they call it. But I think conservatives are mostly self-sufficient. So what's the worst case scenario for a conservative? If the America does falter, as we're seeing now with the Navy, conservatives are going to keep growing their food, tending to their chickens and goats, living in rural areas. I know not every conservative has farms, but they're much more rugged and more likely to be able to survive out in the middle of nowhere and be responsible for themselves. And I think they're happy about it. I find it really funny when the left says that the blue states subsidize the red states. I'm like, yo, I don't think conservatives care all that much. Have you ever gone out to the middle of nowhere? These people are content, like in the middle of nowhere. They don't need your support. I'm sure they enjoy some of those subsidies, but I also don't think that it really matters in the end because they'll go out, roll up their sleeves and take care of themselves. The Navy is faltering at a time when we need our Navy to be on its toes over what's happening with China. But here it is. Where do you think we go next? Do you think it's just going to correct itself? No, I don't think so. I think the rot has cut out the foundation. Let's read the story. Before we do, head over to timcast.com, become a member, because not only will you get access to exclusive members-only podcasts from Timcast IRL, which is at Alan West, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West on just the other day, a very dark conversation about what's happening with our children in the members-only podcast, but you're also supporting our new journalists. That's right. We have a team of about 7 so far. The new site may be coming very, very soon. Maybe a week or 2. We'll see. I don't want to overhype it just yet, but the new site is fantastic. You may have seen the alpha version I've demoed in some of my videos so far. It's going to be great. We've got some investigative reporters we're planning on bringing on. We're going to be doing field reporting, sending people to these schools to take a look at what's going on in critical race theory. That's what your membership supports. So go to timcast.com, sign up. But don't forget, like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, which probably does nothing. But more importantly, share this video. Share every video you watch from channels you support. If you like the work I do, share the video. If you like the work from, say, Styx Hexenhammer, share his videos. Steven Crowder, share these videos. That is how we overcome many of the obstacles and the propaganda. Building networks, building communities, and using these social networks to the best of our abilities to share this information. Share videos from channels you like, so share this video right now. Let's read. The Daily Mail reports Navy is not ready for war because sailors are forced to focus on diversity training, with officers blaming poor leadership for destruction of warship, 2 collisions, and surrender of U.S. boat to Iran, scathing report finds. They say the report, prepared by Marine Lieutenant General Robert Schmidl and Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, both retired, came in response to recent naval disasters, including the burning of the USS Bonhomme Richard in San Diego, 2 collisions involving Navy ships in the Pacific, and the surrender of 2 small craft to Iran. I want to repeat that for you. We surrendered 2 small craft to Iran. Is that what happened? That is shocking. Let's read more. The authors conducted hour-long interviews with 77 current and retired Navy officers, offering them anonymity to identify issues they wouldn't feel comfortable raising in the chain of command. The report found that a staggering 94% of the subjects believed the recent naval disasters were part of a broader problem with Navy culture or leadership. Quote, I guarantee you every unit in the Navy is up to speed on their diversity training. I'm sorry that I can't say the same for their ship handling training, said one recently retired senior enlisted leader. Incredible. There's a photo of the fire on the USS Bonhomme Richard, LHD-6 at Naval Base San Diego, July 12, 2020 in San Diego. The $750 million ship had to be scrapped due to fire damage. The report focused on issues within the Navy's surface warfare forces as opposed to submarine and aviation, and suggested that issues in the surface fleet could be unique due to better funding and training for submarine and aviation units. One of the key issues raised by the officers interviewed for the report was a concern that Navy leaders spend more time focusing on diversity training than on developing war-fighting capacity and key operational skills. Quote, sometimes I think we care more about whether we have enough diversity officers than if we'll survive a fight with the Chinese Navy, lamented one lieutenant currently on active duty. It's criminal. They think my only value is as a black woman. But you cut our ship open with a missile and we'll all bleed the same color, she added. Wow. Bravo, Lieutenant. Beautiful statement. I do not care the gender or the identity or the skin color of our naval officers, of our military. I care that they're effective. There was a big controversy where people on the right were criticizing the Navy for having so many women and even flight suits for pregnant women. And I said, I don't care if the woman is pregnant or otherwise. I care if the individual is effective at their job. And that means a pregnant woman could be handling administrative work if you don't believe she is effective at flying a warplane. I'm going to say, I don't think pregnant women should be in active duty combat, but if they're in a support position and they're effective, that's a good thing. The problem is often what you get with these diversity trainings is people who are not effective. And I think it's fair to point out many pregnant women at a certain level of pregnancy probably will not be as effective as other individuals. But ultimately, I care about meritocracy. I don't care about the identity of the individual. I think a lot of conservatives missed that point as well. They said, it doesn't matter, a pregnant woman shouldn't be in the military. I'm all about merit. If she can do the job required, which perhaps, I don't think she's going to be doing pull-ups and running through the trenches or anything like that. But if she's handling administrative work and it's effective, so be it. Merit determines whether or not you are in these roles. Diversity, inclusivity, equity, critical theory. It's not about merit. It's about placing because we feel good about it. And that's why our Navy's become ineffective. They're going to say, one recent destroyer captain said, where someone puts their time shows what their priorities are. And we've got so many messages about XYZ Appreciation Month or assault prevention or you name it. We don't even have close to the same level of emphasis on actual war fighting. While programs to encourage diversity, human trafficking prevention, suicide prevention, assault prevention, and others are appropriate, they come with a cost, the report's authors wrote. The non-combat curricula consume Navy resources, clog inboxes, create administrative quagmires, and monopolize precious training time by weighing down sailors with non-combat related training and administrative burdens. Both Congress and Navy leaders risk sending them into battle less prepared and less focused than their opponents, the report added. Facts. And I've talked to so many people, and you probably know some, who quit their military careers over wokeness. Because it's not just about these ridiculous bogged down curricula on diversity, inclusivity, and equity trainings. It's about Joe Biden saying we got to weed out the extremists in the military. It is a purge, an ideological purge, and it is pressure and it is working. I've talked to a handful of people who said their plan was a long career in the military and they're retiring now over the wokeness. You do not want a woke military. Apparently we're getting it. Amazing. Figure 1, do you believe these incidents are part of a broader problem in Navy culture or leadership? 94% said yes. So I did a little Google search and here's what I found. America's Navy, Navy.com, Navy diversity and equity. I am a sailor. We are team. This is our Navy. Putting on a uniform doesn't mean sacrificing who you are. America's Navy values diversity, inclusivity, and equity. Oh, it says equality. They don't even know what they're talking about. Striving to build a community of service members who accurately reflect the rich makeup of our country. Our belief is that with hard work and determination, anyone from anywhere has the power to be successful in the Navy. No matter your background, lifestyle, gender, sexuality, or religious beliefs, there is a place for you in the Navy. Here, all are welcome and all have a part to play. We believe that when a diverse group of individuals come together to do a job, they can do it better because of their differences. The problem is those are all superficial points, isn't it? Diversity was supposed to represent people from different parts of the country or world having a different view and allowing a wider range of ideas to enter the problem-solving equation, and thus more likely to find a solution. Makes sense. Instead, they've said, let's get everybody who thinks the exact same thing but looks different. And that's actually the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So here you go. A warship destroyed, collisions, and a surrender. Some of the respondents expressed concerns that when combat lethality and warfighting are emphasized, they are treated in a box-checking manner that can seem indistinguishable from non-combat related exercises. Quote, the Navy treats warfighting readiness as a compliance issue, said one career commander. You might even use the term compliance-centered warfare as opposed to adversary-centered warfare or warfighter-centered warfare. One junior surface warfare officer, still in active duty, confessed, I don't think that the surface community see themselves as people who are engaged in a fight. Commander Brian McGrath, a retired surface warfare officer who agreed to be interviewed on the record, notably dissented on the question of whether excess requirements were distracting sailors from their primary mission, argued that the main issue was too few surface ships. Quote, the ships are very busy, he said. I think there are too few of them for what is being asked. The operational requirements squeeze out maintenance. They squeeze out some training. I got a question for you, Commander. What happened to that warship that the Bonhomme Richard burst into flames? Somebody screwed up. Perhaps they weren't trained properly. And whose fault is that? To a certain degree, the individual. But it's also a problem of the system itself, the Navy itself, because the responsibility always goes to the top. Whoever is running the show is responsible for all of it. Quote, when you're on the ship, McGrath said, the assault and victim stuff, all that stuff just seems like a burden. It just seems like it's never ending. But the further I get from it, the more I understand why it's important and why there does have to be very clear signals set to deck plate sailors that they're, that issues that are important to them are important to leadership. That's just the bunk line, huh? I realize, Congratulations. Your woke military will lose against China because China's not going woke. They're doing the opposite. Another issue identified in the report is the overly timid practice of treating certain errors with career termination and offering no opportunity for recovery. Hey, sounds like cancel culture in the military. Former Secretary of the Navy, John Lehman, made the startling claim that of the 4 key admirals who led the Navy to victory in World War II, none would make the rank of captain in today's fleet. Nimitz put his first command on the rocks, Lehman said. And Halsey was constantly getting into trouble for bending the rules or drinking too much. Ernie King was a womanizer and a heavy drinker. Admiral Leahy may have been the only one that might have made it through, but he had quite a few blots on his record as well. But in each case, there was a critical mass of leadership in the Navy that recognized that these were very, very promising junior officers, he said of the World War II admirals. And so while they were punished for mistakes, they were kept in a career path. That's not the case today. It's just not done because it's too dangerous for anybody that tries to help someone who has made a mistake. Officers interviewed for the report echoed Lehman's concerns. The practice of firing commanders for the smallest mistakes was a drag on retention, morale, and lethality. Commanders can no longer take risks in a way that they can have small failures, learn, and move forward. Failures are terminal to people's careers. These are guys that are totally zero risk, one former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense who served as a surface warfare officer said of the surface warfare community. Because they're like, hey, I'm going to be the commanding officer for 15 months. Why try to get to the battle? Why try to do really important boardings in the Middle East? I'm just going to make sure I'm talking to the admiral over the VTC and make sure that he's for it. And I just found that to be really sad. The report argues that the independence of command has been eroded and commanding officers fear risk due to the adverse impacts upon their careers. The general unwillingness to rehabilitate one-off mistakes, the disinclination to weigh errors against the totality of a naval career, and the practice of discipline by paperwork were broadly understood to be a drain on the Navy's retention efforts, the report said. Goldman Sachs, Amazon, Apple, Google, whatever. All of these institutions of high performance and high excellence do circus flips trying to figure out how to cultivate and retain talent, said one former naval officer who is now a senior leader at a major hedge fund's philanthropic arm. The Navy all but chases it out the door. Navy leadership are paranoid about any negative press and cow to reporters. I would just like to go back real quick and show you the real ramifications of this. A fire is seen on board the USS Bonham Richard at Naval Base San Diego. That breaks my heart, man. You know, I've never been a big fan of American foreign policy, but I remember growing up when we were criticizing the foreign wars, we always said, I don't blame the troops. I respect the troops. That was supposedly the liberal position. I was in Chicago. We had Barack Obama saying, I will end these wars. If you vote for me, we'll get out of Iraq first thing. Yeah, right. He upped the ante. While we were critical of the war, we were critical of Bush, and we were critical of neocons and the establishment, we said, these people who enlisted, people like Tulsi Gabbard, for instance, saw a threat to the nation and said, I will stand. And I have tremendous respect for all of those people who do. And that's why I'm just so disgusted to see us in this state. Another issue identified in the report is a perceived fear among Navy leaders of any negative news articles. What is wrong with all of you people? I had a smear piece the other day. They called me a reactionary. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't care about what these leftists are tweeting about. It's irrelevant. Now, I get it. They can cause problems if they harass you and go after, financial institutions and try and get you banned or whatever. But I just keep doing my thing. Shore up our defenses, fight that good metaphorical fight, and just stay the course. But these people are terrified. Admirals are supposed to lead us into battle, but they hide in foxholes, the first sight of military.com and the Military Times, said one intelligence officer. The reporters are in charge, not us. COs would be quite risk averse, one officer said. They would have the senior department heads manning a lot of watches, especially on the bridge, and things like that to make sure that nothing went wrong because nobody wanted to end up in the media and nobody wanted to end up on the cover of Navy Times. Interviewees described an undercurrent of fear that gripped the surface fleet, with commanders unwilling to delegate and senior ranks quick to hand down punishments in response to media pressure. Get woke, go broke, baby. Oh, there's more. But let me show you this real quick so I want to make sure you know the stakes are as high as they could possibly be, because this might be a long video. CNN reports, Japan warns of Taiwan crisis, growing risks from U.S.-China rivalry. Japan is worried because if we can't defend our allies in Southeast Asia, you think China is going to sit around and not control all of those waters and trade routes? They're already trying to. They have been sinking several civilian vessels in the South China Sea, and the U.S. isn't stopping them. Sure, we sent a strike group here or there, but our Navy, ineffective, I suppose. You know, look, I'll say one thing. Perhaps this is just a old bait and switch. The Navy is like, we got an idea. Let's make China think we're weak. Hey, Sun Tzu said it. Make your enemy think you're weak. And then you surprise them. They make bad mistakes. They make serious mistakes. And so I look at this report that was filed. Maybe it's all just a trick. Maybe they're saying, hey, let's pretend that we got woke and went broke. But then you just go to their website and they've got their own naval diversity section. We saw the commercial from the Army. No, they're being gutted and eroded because this is 4th and 5th generational warfare and we are being torn apart. Man, it's worrying to say the least. It's not just our Navy. It's the military industrial complex, which this one I find really, really funny. I got to say, when I learned the Federal Reserve was getting woke, several branches around the U.S. had wokeness issues. I started laughing like, oh, the Fed's going to get woke and go broke. All right, let's see how that plays out. Raytheon from MEAWW. Who runs Raytheon? White workers asked to identify their privilege in woke training manual. Okay. If the military industrial complex falters because of wokeness and they go broke, I don't know if I'm going to be crying all that much. Now, the U.S. military heavily relies on weapons produced by a lot of these companies. So, okay, I guess there is an issue there. But I don't like the idea that we engage in these foreign trash wars for BS reasons. Or I can say, you can make an argument about why we should be in Syria or whatever, and I'll listen to the argument. I'm not a fan of foreign intervention, but sometimes there's arguments. I mean, I'll listen to any argument. The problem is that we end up doing nation building. Why? These big contractors want money, and you trapped in a Middle Eastern quagmire. Congratulations, just keep cranking out those contracts they can't do anything about. But now it's not just the Navy. Raytheon is getting woke. All right, well, now I'm just like, all right, throw them all in the bin. You know what I mean? If Raytheon is getting woke and they're going to go broke, all right, let's pack it in. Let's call it peaceful divorce. Have at it. I'll take care of my plot of land. You guys do your things. If you're in a city, I'd be pretty worried if I were you. Hey, look, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees and mountains, I'm responsible for the defense of my home. You live in a city? You're in a cubicle stacked on top of a bunch of other cubicles, concrete blocks in a city that smells like sour milk. You ain't getting any resources into this place. And that population density, that's going to be real scary when people aren't getting fed. I'll tell you what. Raytheon gets woke. The campaign's stronger together. Maybe they'll get woke and go broke. There's more problems over the Navy. They say, report cites underinvestment in officer training and poorly resourced ship maintenance programs. This is what happens when media psychosis takes over. Social media psychosis has destroyed this country. People like Jack Dorsey, he doesn't understand any of this, yet he is able to suppress people who are anti-establishment or the people who are saying no to this. To put it simply, many of the people who are anti-woke and warning of this have been banned and purged because of Jack Dorsey's opinions and policies on what is or isn't acceptable. He's been driven insane by his own algorithms, burned by a fire of his own creation. And now the rest of us suffer for it. Democrats rely heavily on social media. They have since Barack Obama. And because social media is algorithm driven, the constituents are being fed psychotic content. They then start focusing on diversity instead of practicality or meritocracy. They then demand the military does the same. They then fund diversity over meritocracy. And this is what you get. I remember hearing this old line several years ago. When these companies started announcing their diversity programs, someone said that they were going to put, what are they going to do? Put options, or they were going to short the companies. I don't know a whole lot about how the stock stuff works, but the idea was, hey, if a company right now is saying they're going to focus on diversity over meritocracy, they're probably going to collapse unless they're operating on government contracts. I'm not saying anybody should do anything. I'm saying this was the argument made to me. They're going to say 2 related issues raised by the report are poorly funded and constantly shifting officer training programs and under-resourced ship maintenance. At one point, the Navy even handed officers 23 compact discs with reading material for surface warfare wardroom training? What, really? Replacing a 5-month course at the Surface Warfare Officer School Division Officers course in Rhode Island. Okay. Do they mean war room training? I don't know. We gave ensigns boxes of CDs and told them to train themselves between watches. And that was a colossal failure, one officer recalled. One respondent recalled that he had informed his admiral, I've got people that I know for certain are not proficient in watch standing. And you know what they told me? Qualify them anyway. You know what I think? I think it's mostly the Democrats. Republicans are like that pressure release valve for the establishment, so they don't do anything anyway. But the idea is to extract as much as you can from the system as it burns down. It's the tsunami we saw coming. I mentioned this in the beginning of the segment. We saw that tsunami off in the distance, and many of these people did as well. And so they said to themselves, how much can I extract from the system before the system collapses? That's a lot of many of these leftist personalities. They don't read the news. They don't fact check it. I remember there was one segment where a leftist personality reacted to a segment from Meet the Press on, I think it's, CNBC or whatever, NBC News. NBC News interviewing Ted Cruz and laughing at him because Ted Cruz had read a Politico report that Ukrainians had meddled in the U.S. election. The people on Meet the Press laughed at Ted Cruz. And then this leftist filmed himself reacting to them laughing by saying, wow, look how dumb they are. Meet the Press did not fact check or even read the article from Politico. Ted Cruz did. This leftist personality on YouTube didn't read the article, seek it out, or even Google search whether or not this happened. That's what you're getting in the establishment left. They are simply trying to carve out for themselves as much as they can while everything burns to the ground. And they call me a grifter. And they call Crowder a grifter. And they call Bannon a grifter. And I'm like, these people put themselves at odds with the corporate establishment and the political establishment for what? You think they chose to be in the outgroup for money and access? Take a look at Hollywood. I got a bunch of A-listers. They message me all the time. Boy, I'd love to go party in Hollywood in the infinity pools and eat expensive foods and drink expensive wines and just say the stupid line. Like when I worked for Disney and they were paying me a crap ton of money. Just say the line, Tim. And I said, no. I care more about the success of humanity than I do about personally gaining resources. I want the system to be fixed to work, and I want people to thrive and be responsible and successful. I want to get to the point where we have a Star Trek-like future. I love Star Trek. Imagine that. Traveling around the galaxy, well, at least one quadrant in it, asking deep philosophical questions, reaching the point of post-scarcity. Post-scarcity, classical liberalism, individual rights and values. We're not going to get there so long as these people, the woke and the establishment elites, have decided the system's going to fall apart. We have no community anymore. So let's just strip out all the copper wiring from the walls before we flee the building. That's what it feels like. It feels like the rent came due. The bill was there at our feet. And the people of this country in the highest level said, you know what? Nobody is agreeing to pitch in to pay the bill, which means we're all going to get evicted. Okay, punched a hole in the wall and started ripping out copper wiring. Hey, at least I'll get a little bit for this after everything falls apart. That's what it feels like. What is Joe Biden focusing on? Garbled nonsense. He's pumping out money, just expediting the demise. The consumer price index is going up. Gas prices are through the roof. Everything just seems to be getting worse. Now, Donald Trump, for all his faults, seemed to, here's what I was saying back during the Trump era, Trump years. It seems like the U.S. was facing a hard fall and there was going to be a serious crisis. So Donald Trump said, we need to shore up our defenses, secure this country in the event that hard fall happens. The problem was what Donald Trump was doing meant that those that were trying to strip the copper wiring from the walls were being stopped. And they were like, what are you doing? It's going to fall down. Let me get the copper out of the walls so I can sell it. Let me extract what value I can from your country and then watch it crumble. Trump said no. But see, those are the real grifters. The establishment elites that don't care the Navy is in ruins. that a warship, a nearly $1 billion warship, was destroyed by a lack of skills and training and leadership. But oh, don't worry. You see, these people in leadership are like, hey, I don't want them to write a bad story about me. Just do a diversity training. What about war? Who cares about war? Who cares about war? China does. China's going to go and take Taiwan. And our Navy is going to be spinning in circles going, what do I do? What do I do? Oh, geez. Who has training? I don't know any of the training. But I do know that we all look different. Oh, well. It was good while it lasted, I guess. I suppose many on the left are probably happy about this, too, especially the anti-war left are probably laughing their asses off. And I don't blame them. There's a lot about this that I think is funny. I think America's military is awesome, though. And I think the problem is our corrupt leaders and establishment, foreign wars, entanglements, quagmires, exploitation. That's not what the American military was supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about defending this nation, a great nation. I mean, America's still awesome. We're wealthy, successful. You've got a lot of freedoms. You get out of the cities, but we're losing so much of that. We're being censored. I can't share certain opinions on YouTube anymore. You can't say certain names on social media. Joe Biden apparently now wants to start censoring private text messages. It's all just rotted from the core and being destroyed from the inside out. But you know what? It reminds me of when you see that, that tree stump after a tree was knocked down or cut down, there's another tree growing in its stead. That's why I'm optimistic. What we're doing over at timcast.com, I think we may be in for a long fall, but what we're working on here is going to at least create some insulation where real values of integrity, honor, personal responsibility can persist. And I think that will be a beacon in the darkness, along with many other creators I mentioned. Styx is great, big fan, and Crowder as well. And there's many other creators who do a great job, commentators and pundits and journalists. But there's not enough. So the tsunami is coming, and there's only so much we can insulate. I hope you're all paying attention. I hope you sign up at timcast.com. Hate to be Debbie Downer all the time, but this stuff freaks me out. So I talk about it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/timcastirl. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.